Hey there guys, Artistic Nick here, thanks for the click. In today's drawing I'm going to draw a Pokemon called Sharpedo, and I just thought that I'd draw the whole thing and sort of talk you through it, how I'm doing it from start to finish. So the equipment that I'm going to use is I'm going to use a 2H pencil to start with. I've got a kneaded eraser, which is a putty eraser just for making any corrections. Once I've done that, I'm going to go over this. This is the pen that I've been using recently. It's a Faber-Castell artist pen. It's a black, permanent, very fine tipped marker. And then I'm going to use my Copic markers, which I've been using quite a lot recently. So these are the colours that I've selected to do this. So I'm going to use Cool Grey 5. I'm using a Cool Grey 1. The yellow that I'm going to be using is called Acid Yellow. I'm going to use a Pure Pink, a Crimson Red, an Amethyst for the bulk of the top of the shark's head and body, and I'm going to use a Lipstick Red for his eye. Had a few requests really, just saying, how do you do this, and how do you freehand it out and whatnot. So I thought I'd just talk you through it. It might be a slightly longer video than normal, so you might want to watch this in a couple of parts. But basically, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try and find some simple shapes. I'm going to mark these simple shapes out. I'm drawing very lightly to start with, extremely lightly, because I will be making corrections. Now, one piece of advice that I would give to you guys is get something down on the paper quickly. It's not going to be perfect straight away, and you're going to make corrections. You're absolutely going to make corrections. But one thing that I've done over the last year or so is my first initial sketch is very, very rough. I can't make corrections to something if I've not got anything down on the paper. So I sort of just jump in there and get a general idea, and then from there I can use various bearing points to give me some ideas of where things should be. So for example, on this shark, where the teeth are going to lie, where the tongue's going to lie. But until I've got something on the paper that roughly resembles what I'm trying to draw, I used to find that it used to take me hours trying to get it perfectly right on the first go. And this much looser sort of way of drawing, I'm finding much easier. So I've recently been doing some of the anime stuff. That's exactly what I do there. I get a couple of reference images and I just very lightly freehand it out to start with, and make corrections as I go. So I can already see this is starting to look similar to my reference image. I've just got a reference image up on my iPad over to the side of me, and this is starting to look similar to it. I mean, it's absolutely nowhere near perfect and where I want it to be, but like I say, I'm getting something down on the paper. I'm drawing very lightly, so corrections are easy to make and adjustments, and I'm just letting the pencil do the work. I'm getting some rough ideas of shapes, so I can see some triangles in here, I can see some oval shapes and whatnot, and this is the process that I'm going to use when I'm doing all of this type of cartoon work. Now, if I was going to do some very detailed graphite work, if I was going to do a celebrity or a portrait for somebody, I would use some different tools. I would use some measuring tools, a ruler, just to make sure that I'm getting absolutely dimensions spot on. But for something like this, where I don't need it to be perfectly accurate to the reference image, I'm quite happy freehanding it out. And what I've found is, over the last year and a half, when I've been doing a lot of my graphite portraits, where they've got to be absolutely spot on because they look like the person that I'm trying to draw, by using the measuring tools and a compass and a divider and whatnot, my eyes got so much better. I see things differently now. I'm much more in tune with proportions and things like that. So what I would say to you is go out and draw, but do try and make your drawings as accurate as you can, and your eye will start to pick things up as you go along. So I've got this sort of rough outline now starting to take shape, so I can start to see that this angle here needs to be a little bit sharper, a little bit deeper down here. And again, I'm not too concerned with making a mistake or two here. This shark's tongue is lying in his mouth. So I'm getting the general lines, the general feeling for shapes. So I'm not loving how this mouth is sitting here. So now I've got something on the paper, I'm able to make adjustments. But like I said, without getting those initial lines down, if there's nothing on the paper and I'm trying to get every line correct straight away, it takes me forever. There might be some of you out there that can draw freehand straight away and get it perfect first time round. If I'm being honest with you, I haven't seen many. I've seen some fantastic artists on YouTube and live. I've done art classes and whatnot. I've seen some phenomenal artists, and nobody gets it right straight away. Absolutely nobody that I've come across. I'm sure there's somebody out there that will disagree with me, and you might be somebody that feels that you can get things right straight away. But drawing's not about getting things perfect straight away. It's about training your eye, looking for angles, looking for things that correspond with something else. So, for example, I've got an eye coming in here. It's a triangular shaped eye. But what does this correspond with? What sort of height is the eye at? Now I know that this eye comes about level with the top of this angle of the mouth here. So I think I'm possibly a little low. I'm using a 2H pencil because this draws very lightly, and I'm not gouging into the paper. If I damage the tooth of this paper, I'm not going to be able to lift the graphite off. So you can see with this kneaded eraser, you can get these from any stationery shop. They're very cheap, and it just lifts the graphite off. So I wasn't happy with where that eye was sitting previously. So you can see already I've probably corrected 6 or 7 lines. But the important thing for me was really getting something down on the paper. We've got a couple of gills in there. Okay, let's have a look at these teeth. I can see 1, 2, 3, 4. I can see 4 visible teeth. First one's coming in somewhere there. I'm just lightly sketching these triangular shapes in. The third one is slightly longer. Fourth one is a similar length. And then there's one tooth hiding behind that there, and one in there. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now straight away, now I'm starting to draw these teeth in, I can see that I've got the fin on the right hand side of this character much too high. So it doesn't come anywhere near the teeth on my reference image that I'm working from. So again, I'm starting to adjust as I go along. Let's have a look at this. I think this is called a dorsal fin on sharks and whales. I've really been enjoying drawing the manga and the anime. So thanks so much, guys. Azuki-chan, you've given me a few requests, so I've really enjoyed doing those. Keep the requests coming in. If there's something else, some different type of drawing you'd like me to have a go at, then drop me a request. Don't forget to like my Instagram and Facebook page and Twitter as well. You can keep up to date with what I'm doing. I've been using Copic markers recently. I got some Copic markers for Christmas that I bought myself as a treat, and I'm really enjoying them. I am colourblind, so I do sometimes need to get a little bit of advice from my wife or my children. They just give me a rough idea of what I'm using. Now, my wife's away and my children are at school today, so I've had to kind of guess these colours a little bit. I'm not convinced that I've got the exact colour for the main bulk of the shark, his head and face and whatnot. So I went for an amethyst, and we'll see how it turns out. I think I've got the rest of them about right. I'm predominantly red-green colourblind. But I really struggle with pinks, browns, various colours like that. So I think so far I've done okay. The beauty with the Copic markers as well is it tells you what the colours are. You do get some strange names like amethyst. I'm not entirely sure what amethyst is. Is it a blue? Is it a green? Is it a purple? But a lot of them do give you a pretty accurate name. So for example, moss green, I kind of understand what a moss green looks like and what I would use that on. So if I was going to draw a Master Chief from the Halo series, I'd probably use a moss green in areas of his armour. So I'm seeing this line a little differently now, coming down here. So again, I'm just going to take my kneaded eraser, and I would use this in all of my work. So whether I'm doing a celebrity portrait or whatnot, making sure that I'm leaving some lighter areas. The one thing that I've found very difficult using these Copic markers, as I've been drawing graphite for so long, when you're drawing with graphite, the key is to never leave any white on the page. White looks flat. Now, when I'm using the markers, obviously I need to leave some white areas, maybe an outline or a shine in an eye, and that's really gone against everything that I've learnt over the last year or so about not leaving any white on the paper. So I do struggle with that a little bit, but I guess it's just a different technique. It's something that I've got to come to terms with, I guess. I'm getting better. Also, as well, while we're on that theme, leaving something completely black, I struggle with, because again, when you've got the same tone of colour on anything, it looks flat. If you look at a black piece of clothing on that somebody's wearing, generally speaking, what you're going to find is there are darker areas in the creases and the parts of the clothing that are furthest away from the light, and that's what gives us dimension. It's what helps our eyes translate depth, and obviously with a marker pen we don't have that range of value that we have with a graphite pencil. So it's been a learning experience for sure, but I'm really enjoying doing them. The main reason is I can get a piece done in a couple of hours rather than 30 hours or 40 hours. My next graphite drawing is going to be my new dog that we've recently bought. She's an Akita. She looks a little bit like a husky. I haven't drawn a dog. I've drawn cats and horses and whatnot, so I am familiar with how to draw fur. Okay, I'm reasonably happy with that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to my Faber-Castell fine line marker. And I'm just going to try and keep my hand as steady as possible when I'm doing this outline. I don't want a jagged line. So the main body of the shark coming up and round. I'm having to just really concentrate on keeping these lines straight at the minute, so apologies if I'm sounding a little quiet. Now I can see from here that I've not quite got these teeth jutting out of the mouth as I would want them. That's slightly better. When you are doing teeth and things like that, it's really important you count them. Make sure you're getting the right amount, particularly if you're drawing a portrait of somebody. The last thing you want to be doing is getting the amount of teeth wrong in somebody's mouth, because it just makes it look it doesn't look like the person. Make sure you're getting the teeth in the right area, but you've also got the right amount. Very important. Again, not so important when we're doing cartoon work, because it's not realism that we're going for, but I think there's a few principles that we can try and get in all of our drawings, whether it's a painting or a cartoon work or a realistic graphite drawing. And if we stick to those, it brings a new level to whatever you're drawing and however you're trying to get your message across on the page. So this shark's eye now, triangular shape. Now he's got a white pupil here, so we're going to leave that white, and then we've got 2 gills. And one slightly bigger. And I will just, there's a yellow star. I'm going to use the acid yellow for this one. I'm guessing it's a star. You can only see a couple of lines on it. So brill. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to time lapse the colouring going in, because I don't think you want to hear me talking the way through that one. I've explained the colours and I'll see you towards the end. So as you can see now, I'm adding the Copic markers, shading it down with the darker greys in the darker areas. Really enjoyable drawing to do. Quite like the look of this shark. I hope that you learnt something from this. If there's something you'd like me to go over again, please let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you think of the colour scheme that I chose for this. I would be happy to go through some more of the finer details of how we find proportions and certain aspects of drawing. But don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate all the support. I'm really enjoying using the Copic markers and doing this type of drawing. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day. Hit subscribe, smack the notifications button, follow me on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter.